During the Civil War, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which would free 3 million slaves in the areas of rebellion. When the war ended in 1865, Congress passed and the states ratified the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery nationwide. 25 years later, in 1890, the state of Louisiana passed a law requiring that black passengers and white passengers ride in separate railroad cars.
My great-grandfather's first cousin was a shoemaker. He challenged the Separate Car Act of Louisiana, which mandated separate accommodations for people of different races. 58 years before Rosa Parks protested on a Montgomery, Alabama bus the right to sit where she pleased, Homer Plessy was battling for the right to sit where he pleased in 1892 on the East Louisiana Railroad passenger train here in New Orleans. He was elected because of his complexion, that he would appear to be someone of the white race. My name is Keith Plessy, and my great-grandfather's cousin's name was Homer Plessy.
Homer Plessy bought a ticket, boarded the train, and sat down in a whites-only car.
The conductor, as well as the arresting officer, were all in on this plan to fight the segregation laws of Louisiana. So the conductor approached him and asked him, was he a person of color? And he responded, yes, I'm a person of color. I purchased my first-class ticket, and I'm going to go to Covington on this train.
He was told to leave and move to a black passenger car, but he refused. The train was stopped, and he was arrested, removed, charged, and went to trial. In criminal district court, Judge John H. Ferguson ruled against Plessy. The Supreme Court of Louisiana affirmed, and Plessy appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Hi, I'm Doug Ginsburg, and I'm a federal judge. After the Civil War ended in 1865, the Congress passed and the states ratified the 13th Amendment, finally abolishing slavery nationwide. But after the era of Reconstruction in the South, former slave states enacted so-called Jim Crow laws to limit the freedoms of black Americans in those states. The Louisiana Separate Car Act was one of them. Plessy versus Ferguson was potentially a pivotal case, but unfortunately, it failed to turn the tide of discrimination and segregation. The question facing the Supreme Court was this: did Louisiana's segregation laws violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment that guarantees equal protection under the law? The 14th Amendment reads,
"No state shall deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws."
The court held that having separate public facilities for blacks and for whites was constitutional, as long as the facilities were equal. Separate, but equal. After oral arguments, the court voted 7-1 against Plessy. Justice Henry Brown wrote the majority opinion. 6 justices joined in his opinion. 1 justice recused himself. The sole dissenter was the great Justice John Marshall Harlan. He wrote,
"Our Constitution is colorblind. In respect of civil rights, all citizens are equal before the law. The humblest is the peer of the most powerful." Justice John Marshall Harlan got it right.
The court said the Constitution must be interpreted to reflect the customs and traditions of the people. So much for equal protection.
The Plessy versus Ferguson case resulted in the United States Supreme Court adopting separate but equal as the law of the land.
The decision legitimized state Jim Crow laws throughout the South, including Louisiana's Separate Car Act.
The suffering that resulted from that case being decided was a national disaster.
Plessy versus Ferguson was effectively overruled by Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. 3 generations of separate but equal. And it took decades more, another 3 generations, to root out the vestiges of separate but equal.
Plessy versus Ferguson was decided in favor of Ferguson by a 7-1 majority vote in 1896. The key principle was the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The Supreme Court upheld the Louisiana separate but equal law as constitutional.